What is going on, YouTube? It's your boy Spanko, and today I'm back with another deck profile. Now, this is Kaiju's. It's a deck that I did a couple weeks ago. However, in that video, I did a competitive, more meta build. A bunch of expensive cards are in there, to be honest with you, to make it as competitive as possible. With this build, it is a budget build, which I think I'm going to start doing for a lot of my deck profiles. What I'm going to start doing is I'm going to take the most competitive builds. I'll still post that one out there for any of the competitive players, but for anyone who's on a budget and still wants to be able to compete, I think a good way to go about that is showing you guys a budget version of the deck. So I guess in today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys a budget version of Kaiju's for anyone who's interested. I think the deck is low-key pretty funny. It has some fun plays, some very gimmicky stuff, but when it comes together, it's actually really fun. So if you guys enjoy these videos, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more Yu-Gi-Oh content. Now that's really all I gotta say. I hope you guys enjoyed the video for real, and let's get into the deck profile. So we're starting off with a double Jizikiryu, one Thunder King, one Dogoran, one Godarla, triple Gamma Seal, one Radiant, and one Humongous. Now this I think is the same ratios as in the other Kaiju profile, so it's the same ratio of Kaijus, and these are just the best ones, to be completely honest with you. So what I mean by they're the best ones is Jizikiryu pretty much can attack a bunch of monsters. Thunder King I think can attack 3 times or something like that. Dogoran Raigekis your opponent's board. Godarla doesn't really have an effect. The reason you're playing Godarla though, I mean, like, of course it has an effect, but it's mostly just used against the Tri-Brigade boards when they end on the Samorg Link and the Barrier Statue, because it's really hard to out the Barrier Statue in this deck, because you obviously need to be able to special summon. So Godarla does that for you, and you guys might be thinking, why are you only playing one Godarla? What if they summon Statue and you can't get into Godarla, or you're drawn into the Godarla? Well, that's why you're playing triple Kyoto Waterfront, because Waterfront, if you just draw a couple spell cards with it, pretty much it's going to get enough counters where you can use its effect to search the Godarla. So you're always going to have access to Godarla if you need against the Barrier Statue. Then we're playing triple Gamma Seal, one Radiant, and one Humongous. Triple Gamma Seal is a pretty much Omni Negate, and it banishes a card when you negate it. So Gamma Seal is pretty much the best one. You always want to summon this, because once you control the game state and you can have a Gamma Seal on your side of the field, you're pretty much set, because Gamma Seal is going to have, especially if Kyoto Waterfront has like maximum 5 counters on it, this gets insanely good, right? So yeah, so Gamma Seal Kyoto is just insane, and that's why you want to play it. Then we're playing triple Luna. Luna is the best normal summon of the deck, pretty much the only normal summon of the deck, but the best normal summon of the deck. Pretty much she searches herself on summon, because she searches a spellcaster with 1850, which is really good because it gets you that card advantage that you might need for a Super Poly, because Super Poly, of course, you need to discard a card. So now it gives you a discard pretty much outlet for the Super Poly, because if you guys don't know, Luna can target a card in the field, bounce it back to the hand, bounce itself and that card back to the hand, unless your opponent sends a card from their deck or their extra deck to the graveyard with the same name to negate that effect, which in most cases your opponent is not going to be playing these Kaijus in their main deck for Luna to get negated, right? So Luna's pretty much always going to be coming back to your hand, which means you're going to have a Luna pretty much every single turn. The nice thing is, again, because she searches it herself, you can use the extra one for the Super Poly target. So that's why just the synergy in this deck low-key is very much like really good, and people don't see it. Like, of course it's not anything like broken tier plays, but there's a lot of synergy with this stuff. And then you're playing triple Eater of Millions. Eater of Millions, of course, is just another disruption and just helps you out certain things. It's not a great card, but it's just one of those things where it works very well in this deck. You don't really need your extra deck that often, so Eater of Millions is really good, and then it just helps you in the battle phase, which a lot of people don't have answers in the battle phase anymore. So Eater of Millions can low-key be pretty good. Double Gizmek Orochi. Now, this was not being played in the other build. We were playing alphas. Obviously, in this build, we're not going to be playing alphas because it's a budget build. But Gizmek Orochi is really good because you're also playing Trade-In. So the thing is, a lot of these Kaijus, the Dogoran, the Godarla, the Gamma Seals, they're all level 8. So is Gizmek Orochi, which means that you can play the Trade-In in the deck. And obviously now, I'm just going to say this now, Extrav is a little bit more budget now because of the reprints. However, it's still kind of an expensive card. So for those like budget players, I really wanted to make this as budget as possible. And obviously Trade-In does that for you. Also, Orochi in the graveyard is really good. Like, if you draw Orochi with Trade-In, like that's really strong. And it's a free body for you. That's really what it is. Also, you're playing a couple rank 8s in here, which makes Orochi live, because if you guys don't know, you can only control one Kaiju on your side of the field at a time. So if you have like a Gamma Seal, or let's say you have a Godarla on your side of the field plus an Orochi, you can make a rank 8 monster. And then what it does for you is, funny enough, is you can detach the Orochi and then have it back in your graveyard now. So Orochi keeps summoning itself back, which is really good. Then you're obviously playing one Pankatrops going second. You always want to go second. I don't know if I mentioned that earlier, but you always want to go second in this deck, of course. You're always going to go second, so Pankatrops is really good. Triple Slumber. Slumber works hand in hand super well with the Dark Ruler No More. If you Dark Ruler your opponent, then your Slumber is pretty much always going to go off, and then you clear your opponent's board. And this is like the best play, because at that point, you're controlling the game state. You're going to have the Gamma Seal on your side of the field, which means that you're going to have a bunch of negates. If you have a Luna in hand or something like that, then you can Luna the other Kaiju back to your hand. And so you're in a really good spot here where now you control the entire board, and once you get control of the board, it's actually hard for your opponent to play around it. Especially with Gamma Seal having so many negates, especially with just you being able to destroy your opponent's board like over and over again every single turn, it's really good. Then of course we are playing the triple trade, and like I said earlier, we're playing double Twin Twister and one Heartbeat's Feather Duster. Now I should mention that if you wanted to play Cosmic Cyclone, you can. You don't have to play Twin Twister. The reason I chose to play Twin Twister over Cyclone though is only because this deck does struggle against back row decks, especially if they put up no monsters on the field, because obviously all your Kaijus need your opponent to have monsters. So that's why you have to play Twin Twisters, because against those back row decks, if they set 2 or 3, because most of them are not going to be setting 1 card in passing, right? So if they're setting 2 to 3, Twin Twister is really good in that sense, and that's why you really want to play Twin Twister. Just get rid of as much back row as possible, because really when you go against back row decks, it's kind of tough, because it really becomes like Luna and then Eater of Millions beatdown really. And it becomes a little bit hard of a matchup, to be honest with you, and that's why you want to play Twin Twisters, and obviously Heartbeat's Feather Duster. Triple Kyoto. Kyoto is obviously one of the best cards in your deck. It obviously gets counters, makes all your Kaiju effects live. You have to be careful though, because it makes your opponent's Kaiju's effects live. So you have to be careful which Kaiju you give your opponent, because if you give your opponent like a Gamma Seal, for example, and you can't out it, then you pretty much just gave your opponent negates for free. So you got to be careful with that, but Kyoto Waterfront is really good. Obviously, you're going to be using most of the counters to either search a Kaiju or obviously to use their effects. Triple Super Poly. Super Poly just breaks pretty much any board in the meta right now. Not every deck can play it though, and that's because you can't fit in as many Super Poly targets. But again, with this deck, you don't need your extra deck, so you're just fitting in Super Poly targets one after the other. Like you have the Shaddoll Window, you have the Construct. This is really good against Dragon Link. The extra deck I'm going to go into in a little bit, but it's just all Super Poly targets pretty much. 1 Terraforming, of course, for your Waterfront. 1 Monster Reborn, just a good extender for you, can help you go for game later on. And then 1 Red Reboot, again, against the back row decks, you really don't want to play against back row, so Red Reboot does that for you. Yeah. And then going into the extra deck. The extra deck really is just really self-explanatory. It's a bunch of monsters that you can Super Poly into. So you got your Winda here, you got your Construct, you got your Furious Dragon, you got your Makaba, you got your Fusion Dragon, your Starving Venom, I should say, 2 of them. You got your Guard Dragon Armadic. This card's really good against Dragon Link boards as well, especially when they have like Romulus, LP, Striker Dragon. When they have that, you can make into this. Entis, this is mostly for a Maximus target. Makaba here is also a Maximus target, I should mention that, because if your opponent uses the Maximus against Dogmatica matchups, you can send your Nova, and then you can send like an Entis, and then you can send like an Omega or something like that. That's why you're playing the Omega, by the way, because you can send the Omega. And then if you send the Nova, Nova can special summon your Makaba. The Entis because obviously pop a card your opponent controls. So this is just mostly to play around the Maximus plays. So yeah, that's why you're playing double Entis, double Mud Dragon, just another Super Poly target. 1 Omega, again for the Maximus plays, you can send the Omega. 1 Nova, again, that's just for the Maximus. And then 2 rank 8s I chose to play were Hope Harbinger and Dingirsu. You can play really any rank 8s you want to. I just thought these were some of the best. Dingirsu is obviously a non-target send, which is really good. And then Hope Harbinger is a negate. So that's really it for the extra deck. It's really self-explanatory, just a bunch of Super Poly targets and 2 rank 8 monsters that you can make with the Gizmo Orochi. I mean, what more could you ask for, right? You can pretty much break any board with this deck, and that's what this deck does really well, is it's meant to break any board, really. And then I wanted to show you guys in this side deck right here, you can play Mystic Mind in your side deck, or not in your side deck actually, in your main deck if you wanted to slow the game down, control the game. The reason I chose not to do that is because through testing, I noticed that a lot of the times I would have hands where I'm like, I don't need the Mystic Mind right now. Mystic Mind is really, really good in matchups where, let's say they set up 3 to 4 negates. You can activate the Mystic Mind, just force out a negate. That's really the only reason you're playing it. And then I realized, I'm like, man, that's not good enough, to be honest. It sounds good on paper, but it's really not good enough in the long run. So that's why I chose just to put it here in the side deck to show you guys that if you wanted to main deck it instead of something like a Super Poly or instead of something like Twin Twisters, you can do that if you want to. But yeah, I just chose to tell you guys that, like, you know, it's a good card, it's not that great. And then the Starving Venom here, I don't know why it's actually in here, to be completely honest with you. Maybe just to play a third one if you wanted to play a third one. I don't know. But yeah, that's it for the extra deck. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm telling you guys, this deck is low-key underrated. Now, I'm not saying obviously it's going to be competitive or meta or any of that stuff, but the synergy in this deck low-key works very well. Again, with the Luna, searching the Luna so that you can have Super Poly, discard outlet, the being able to Kyoto Waterfront for your Godarla so you can out statue, trade in for these Mikarochi. There's just so much little like interaction with the deck that just works really well. So that's why I just think this deck is, I mean, it's a fun deck. If you guys want to play a fun casual deck and do some gimmicky stuff and some cheesy stuff, I think this is one of the best decks to play. But again, if you guys enjoyed this video, I hope you guys liked the video. Subscribe to the channel. The goal is 5,000. We're at over 4,100 now, so let's get to 5,000 soon. And that's really all I gotta say. So with that, Spanko, signing out. Peace.
Get up, we want you to get on your feet.